Hello and welcome to Limewedge Loge picks Week 17 on the NFL Playoff Machine. After I pick Week 17, I'll then pick the playoffs. But as for right now, I'm doing a quick recap of what happened in Week 16. In Week 16, the 49ers beating the Falcons means they have assured themselves a playoff spot, as well as the Panthers beating the Saints. The Cowboys beating the Redskins mean their hopes are alive for next week or the week I'm about to pick versus the Eagles. The Steelers winning keeps their hopes alive. The Bears had a chance to beat the Eagles and secure their division, but they didn't. They really didn't if you watched the game. The Seahawks had a chance to basically say we're the number one overall seed no matter what. They didn't. The Cardinals kept their playoff hopes alive by winning, so did the Steelers. The Giants eliminated the Lions from the playoffs, and Indianapolis helped their bid for a higher seed with a win. The only teams mathematically eligible in the AFC are Miami, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, even though I said them backwards there, and San Diego. Those are the only teams still eligible for the playoffs in the AFC. In the NFC, it's down to the Bears and Packers for their division, the Eagles and the Cowboys for their division, and then the Saints and the Cardinals for the final wild card spot in the NFC. Everything else is pretty much locked up, as in playoff-wise. Seeding is all that really matters at this point. Seattle, with a loss, and 49ers win, and Panthers win, fall down to the wild card. Panthers move to the 1 seed, 49ers move to the 2 seed. But will that happen? We're about to find out. Well, my predictions anyway. I'm not 100%. The Panthers should beat the Falcons and secure at least the first round bye in the playoffs. Another situation, before I pick any more, if the Ravens, Dolphins, and Chargers all end up tied with the same record, the tiebreaker goes to the Dolphins, as far as them all three winning. If all three lose, then it goes to the Dolphins, unless the Steelers win. Because let me just show you the situations. Lose, 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 and then Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh would get in. I've seen a lot of playoff things where the Steelers get into playoffs, but that's mostly Steeler fans. But if any one of these teams win and the other ones lose, say Kansas City loses to San Diego, then San Diego will get in the playoffs. But San Diego wins, Baltimore wins, Baltimore gets in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what Kansas City does over here. Miami wins, they get in. Miami wins, Baltimore loses, Miami gets in. But, like I said, if Baltimore does not control their own destiny, Baltimore versus San Diego, I think I already did that one. But, Miami has the tiebreaker only if San Diego wins. That's what I was going for there. I lost my train of thought for a split second. Miami has the tiebreaker only if San Diego wins. If both of those two teams win and San Diego wins, Miami gets the tiebreaker. Both of those teams win, San Diego loses, Baltimore gets the tiebreaker. Every single team loses, Baltimore gets it. And that's how it works. So if all 4 teams lose, Baltimore by default gets the playoff spot. So, I don't think that'll happen though. After their terrible performance, Baltimore will do better, but I still give it to the Bengals. So there's the first chip to fall. With the Titans and Texans, doesn't really matter, give it to the Titans. Titans finished the season 7-9. 2 more wins and they could have been in the playoffs. But that's not how the NFL works. Colts get their win there. Jets at Dolphins. This is a tough one. The Jets are absolutely miserable, and I mean miserable, on the road. The Dolphins are decent at home. Simply because the Dolphins are at home, I'm going to give it to them. I won't be surprised if the Jets win, but saying the Jets are going to win is just hard to do, especially on the road. I'm sorry for giving the Lions the benefit of the doubt. They have so much talent, they just squandered it, giving that one to Minnesota. Two terrible teams. I might just go with a tie. Nah, tie is a cop-out. I guess I'll give it to New York. Pittsburgh will win, but and all Pittsburgh, I believe if I hate to say it, but Pittsburgh has a better shot than I like to imagine. Because Bengals are the better team than the Ravens, in my opinion. Ravens aren't an excellent road team. Bengals, look at this, unbeaten at home. So I think they're gonna win. Kansas City is generally seen as the better team than San Diego, but that's something else entirely. Green Bay and Chicago. I know one of the people who watched my videos before said, "Oh, anything that makes Chicago get in, that's what I'm for." Unfortunately, even if Aaron Rodgers can't start, I know Chicago, look at it, 5-2 at home. Green Bay's only 3-4 on the road, which you can't see. Just the way that Bears completely got demolished by the Eagles last night. I can't pick them. I know Green Bay's loss was a tough one to Pittsburgh, but you just can't lose like that. Green Bay takes the final playoff spot. Broncos, no brainer. They seal #1 overall seed. Patriots beat the Bills, take the 2 seed. And this is where it gets interesting. If in some way, I know that the last 3 games, I think it was, that the Saints have lost were on the road. I think the Rams one was on the road. Yeah, I think it is. I don't think the Buccaneers can do it. If by some chance the Buccaneers do win and the Cardinals can win, then they will get in instead of New Orleans. Anyway, I do believe that the Cardinals will cap off a season, with the win. Either way, I don't know if I would play my starters if I was San Francisco either way. On one hand, I see, well, you want the best seed, you want to win, you want the momentum. But on the other hand, I see the fact that you're going into Green Bay to face the Packers with probably Aaron Rodgers, who are on a mission. Do you really want to play them? Who do you want to play? The Eagles, who destroyed the Bears, or the Packers, who are very dangerous in Lambeau, and I will assume, have Aaron Rodgers back. But either way, I think the Cardinals would outplay them. I would think the Chargers would win. All they would need is a not so big upset by Miami, and that would still keep Pittsburgh from getting in even if Miami lost. I just want to see this. I just want to see what will happen if this. Just give me a second. Panthers 1 seed. A boy can dream. Well, not a boy anymore, but still. But that's how I see it actually going to turn out. And now Dallas. Possibly the greatest and worst thing that could happen to them has happened. Tony Romo is almost certainly out for the game. Either way, Eagles. Just first of all, even if Tony Romo, some miracle plays, Tony Romo, December, a game that really matters. He has nothing in his track record to suggest that he would win it. I know some people might be like, well, neither does Nick Foles. Okay, well, let's look at how they did last week. The Eagles took care of business. They destroyed the Bears. I mean, destroyed them. What about the Cowboys? Barely beat the lowly Redskins. I'm sorry, Redskins fans, but you know your team's been pretty bad this year. Barely. Which team are you going to pick out of those? The Eagles. You gotta be the Eagles. But anyway, that's who I see making the playoffs. Not necessarily who I want to, or how I want the order to be in, but that's how I see it happening, most likely. And okay, now on to my playoff predictions. I predict that the Bengals will beat Miami. As long as the Bengals are at home, they won't lose. That's pretty much a given fact. The Chiefs at Indianapolis. Indianapolis handled the Chiefs in Week 16. I believe they'll handle them again. If you're Indianapolis, you're confident. You're confident right now. You've beaten some of the great teams. The biggest thing for Indianapolis is that they don't have to face Miami. Now, if you're saying, what? Miami's clearly not as good of a team. Exactly. Indianapolis plays at a high level when they play high-level opponents. If they were to play Miami, I would pick Miami because I would believe the Colts would play down to them. So that will set up Colts at Broncos and Bengals at Patriots. New England isn't playing that great. I know people will say, be like, well, look at the Bengals away record. They're 3-5. They're just 3-5. How can you pick them? And then look at the Patriots' home record. Patriots are undefeated at home. And whereas I know people say also, well, you said the Bengals were unbeatable at home. The Patriots are unbeatable at home. If they had Gronkowski, I would pick the Patriots, but they don't. And Tom Brady can only do so much. And overall, I believe Denver has more talent around them than New England. That being said, I think Indianapolis will go into Denver and win. So it will mean Indianapolis at Cincinnati for the AFC Championship. Bengals being at home, they overcome the Colts in a late thriller. And the Bengals went from earlier this year, oh, well, Andy Dalton is not the quarterback for their future. I mean, he's a decent quarterback. He's not the quarterback for their future. Making it to the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure, will ensure his job. And if this prediction comes true, he'll ensure his job. You know, if that happens that way. And which, you know, that seems logical to me. I know the Bengals haven't had recent, you know, they haven't done too well in the playoffs, but I believe this Bengals team is a lot better. Anyway, over to the NFC. San Francisco at Philadelphia. I know San Francisco beat a game Falcons team. Very game. But the Eagles, I believe, are just in a level. They're playing at a higher level that San Francisco hasn't been able to get themselves to. Not saying that they aren't playing at a fairly high level, but the Eagles have just been playing out of their mind, which makes the NFC so hard to predict for me. Because whereas the AFC, I believe, most of the teams are just kind of limping in, not really, you know, they've had, over the past few weeks, some really bad games. The NFC, to me, seems a lot stronger. New Orleans goes into Green Bay. New Orleans is not a great road team. By this point, Green Bay will be on fire, especially if Aaron Rodgers comes back. At this time, I am saying Aaron Rodgers is coming back in this prediction in mind. And I am saying he is playing at a high level. Not just a decent level, not a slightly above Matt Flynn level. He's playing at a high level, and he stays healthy. Green Bay beats New Orleans. That leads Philadelphia to go into Carolina, and Green Bay to go into Seattle. These are four very, very dangerous teams. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to pick anything from this point on. With this game, I'm going into the mentality that Aaron Rodgers is healthy and isn't hurt yet. Yet being the main word there. He goes into Seattle and he tears up their defense. And Green Bay's defense is able to hold them for just enough that the now vulnerable, after the loss to Arizona, they look a little bit vulnerable to me. Green Bay goes in and beats Seattle. And for anyone who'd be like, oh, well, you're just a Packers fan. No, I actually really like Russell Wilson. He's from NC State. NC State's my favorite college. So I am more a Seahawks fan. But Aaron Rodgers back, I think he'll win that game for them. but Seattle being the stout defense they are, they rough him up. So the next week he won't be 100%, which will come into the next game. He's not going, in my prediction, Joel's Little World, he's not going to be 100% going into the next game. But Philadelphia at Carolina, another very difficult matchup. Nick Foles, Super Foles versus Super Cam. Panthers have a very stout defense. Eagles, I know they did beat the Bears pretty bad. Their defense isn't quite as good overall. Because, no, I can't pull them up there. They should be on the left. You can see them. Okay. Defensive rank 30th. The offensive rank 2, defensive rank 30th. Versus the Panthers, who you can't see over here. Their offensive rank is 24th and defensive ranking is 3. So it's pretty much offense versus defense here. I have been a long-standing fan of defense wins championships. So for that reason alone, I'm going with Carolina. Defense, excellent defense over excellent offense. In general, for this pick at least. Which leaves Green Bay going into Carolina for the NFC Championship game. Well, like I said, it's coming up before. Either Carolina or Philadelphia, whoever won that game, I would have picked to win this game, simply because the Seattle defense roughed up Aaron Rodgers. A roughed up Aaron Rodgers is not a super Aaron Rodgers. If he's not super, Packers aren't going to win. Simply Carolina and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. And now, I don't know, this is the hardest pick yet, simply because these two teams are nothing alike. But I'm going to give it to the Bengals. Like I said, I'm rooting for the Panthers. I want the Panthers to win. But the Bengals right now just look like the hottest and most well-rounded team. I know, you could say last week, oh, well, the Bengals trubbed the Vikings, and Vikings are terrible on the road. I think the Bengals have got their act together in a way that no other team does. I think the Bengals are to a point where they can play quarter after quarter after quarter seamlessly. Anyway, if they completely and utterly blow it to the Ravens, next week with my predictions, I'll probably be like, yeah, well, the Bengals aren't quite going to win the Super Bowl based on this week's predictions. And if one of the other teams is just absolutely amazing, which there's not really anyone who, beyond teams like Kansas City at San Diego, because those are quality opponents. I'm skimming through the matchups. I really don't see any others besides the Bengals, Ravens, maybe the Cardinals and 49ers. If the Cardinals are just blown out, I could say that one. Well, those 3 games, those are 3 games I can absolutely say. Both teams are quality teams. I know Chicago fans, that one Chicago fan, well, what about Chicago? If they beat Green Bay, I'll say they're a quality team. Until then, you gotta wipe that bad taste of the Eagles matchup out of my mouth before I'll say you're a really quality team. But anyway, if you agree or disagree with my predictions, leave a comment below. If you think I'm completely insane for picking the way I did, make sure to tell me. I always enjoy getting reassured about my insanity. If you have something else to say, you can say that. If you like this, you can like it. If you dislike it, you can dislike it. But I'd rather you instead of just disliking it, I'd rather you tell me why you dislike it. Like, I dislike this because you smell and you need a bath. Something crazy like that. It's always funny to me. But anyway, I'm LimeWitchLoge, and I thank you for watching. And good night, morning, whatever time of day it is when you're watching this.